friends, this is the Mrs. Volfie from our Half Acre Homestead, and I'm finally doing it. I'm going to dehydrate cheese. Now, I've been doing some research, and a lot of people will put it on in your dehydrator on a high setting, but that just melts the cheese. And what we want to do is we want to dry it out, and I don't want to make a mess on my dehydrator. So what I'm going to do, isn't this a nifty thing? It's a little old-fashioned, but it's got a good slicing blade on it. And 10 cents to the person who tells me who and where I got it from. If you say Nancy, you'd be right. But I like this because it slices it thin. I'm not going to grate it because I don't want it falling down through. I haven't got through all the trays yet. This is a patience job, folks. I've done a little bit more research because I wanted to make sure I did this properly. Now, we're not melting the cheese, folks. We are drying the cheese. There's a big difference. So it's a patience thing. One of the most important things is that you have your cheese, shape doesn't matter, but uniformity in thickness does. And the thicker or the thinner your cheese is, the faster it will dry. Now, like I said, I'm not melting this stuff. I am going to be putting this on the dehydrator at the lowest possible temperature because we want it to sweat and we want that sweat to dry off. Like my daddy used to say, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Okay, so we'll be back. I have 2 more trays to do, and so far I've only gotten one of these bricks, which is a pound of cheese. So this may take a few days to get as much cheese as I would like. All right, we'll be back when the trays are full. Alrighty, we've got 6 trays at a little over a pound of cheese. And I'm going to set my dehydrator at 95 degrees. All right, we'll be back in a little while and we'll show you how it's doing. Okay, the cheese has been dehydrating overnight, and as you can see, it's nice and crispy, but it has some grease on it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take some paper towels and we're going to cover these up, because what we want our product to be as dry as possible. Fat will go rancid or moldy. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to put paper towel over top, and then I'm going to take one of these smaller trays and I'm going to flip the whole thing onto the paper towel, just like that. Let's move this out of the way. And there is 1 tray of cheese. And we're just going to take it and we're going to pat it dry. We just want, you can tell that it's nice and crunchy actually. But you see the grease that's coming off of here? And we just want to kind of soak it up. Now, this is a tedious job, but if you want to dehydrate your own cheese, you know, I mean, this is the how to go about it. It's a lot of grease we're getting out of that cheese. The more grease you get out of the cheese, the more oil you get out of the cheese, the nicer it's going to be when you grind it up into a powder. And I think what I might do is I might line my trays with some paper towel and dehydrate further. But as I dehydrate, I didn't want to dehydrate it on paper towel because I was afraid of it sticking, but now that it's partially dry, it shouldn't be an issue. Anyway, we'll be back when I have this all patted dry. I'm on my last tray here. I've gone ahead and wiped the excess grease off. Folks, if you're going to do this, get yourself at least 2 rolls of paper towel. And now we're going to do it, put it in its final stage of drying. And I've got 2 sheets of paper towel here, and I'm just going to fold them, and I'm going to take a nice big corner out of those. And then I'm going to separate my paper towels and put them curling side down. And now we're just going to put the last of our cheese onto the paper towel. And again, it's already absorbing more fat. You're not going to get all the grease off your cheese, but you can do or go a long way to doing that. And then, still on the low setting, we're going to put these back in the dehydrator. Alrighty, we'll be back when these come out of the dehydrator again and we grind the powder. Now we have, you can see that the grease on the paper towel, we've gotten some more off, but what we're going to do is we're going to take it one step further. Now you guys know I do this with my powdered eggs, but let's do it with the cheese too. Because what we want to do is we want the cheese to be as dry as possible. That's what gives it its staying factor for long-term storage. Now these should be good and dry. Dry enough to grind? Yes, look at that. Gonna get it to a powder as much as possible. And then we're just going to, now I don't know if it's going to cling to the paper towel or not, but let's just get our cheese powder. That looks pretty dry, folks, but we'll know when we turn it over and if there's grease on the bottom. So let's get the rest of our cheese ground up, and then we're going to give it a couple more hours in the dehydrator. You know, you can't be too careful, and there is some sticking to the inside of the grinder, which means there's still moisture there. So we want to give it a little bit more time in the dehydrator, but in powdered state. All right, we'll be back when I have this all ground up. Now, I'm going to say a pound of cheese, or a pound and a quarter of cheese, if we're lucky, will produce maybe a cup of cheese powder. Now this is not Kraft Dinner powder, folks. This is dehydrated cheese that has been, you know, dehydrated and powdered. And we're doing this one last step. We're putting it on the paper towel on a fruit roll-up tray in the dehydrator, and we're going to run the dehydrator just a little bit more, because if there's any oil left in the cheese, we want it to be absorbed by this paper towel. Because, you know, you're going to end up with less cheese because you're getting rid of more moisture. But better safe than sorry, right? So here's our 2 trays of cheese powder, and we're going to put these on the dehydrator for another hour or so, and then we're going to see how much we get. All right, we'll be back. Okay. Here we go. This has been, our powder has been drying for about another hour, and we're going to see how much we actually have. Now, one thing about the reason I did this is because you can't see it, but there's still a little bit of oil left in the cheese, and you're not going to get that out if it's in chunky form unless you dry each individual piece of cheese. So when we grind it and powder it, we get, if not all, at least a good portion of that last bit of oily residue. And look, I have over a cup and I haven't even done the other tray. Or I have almost a cup and I haven't even done the other tray. I think I should have gotten a bigger jar. Here we go. And Volfie has already done the taste test, and he gave it a thumbs up. He actually looked quite surprised that it tasted like cheese. Yeah, I'm going to need another jar. Let's just see if we can get this all in here. If not, I'm going to be dehydrating some more. So, okay. So, a pound that's going to pour out or not. Let's do it on the tray just in case. All right, so a pound to a pound and a quarter cheese does about a cup and a quarter of powdered cheese. Isn't that lovely? Okay, friends, now what we're going to do is we're going to make macaroni and cheese, kind of homemade craft dinner. And it's oh so much better than that. What you're going to need is about 2 teaspoons of butter and, I don't know, tablespoon of flour. And you're going to cook that flour and the butter together until it's kind of brown but not scorched. Going to whisk that up. I think my whisk, it's from my mixer. Then we're going to add, about a cup of milk. Maybe about 2 cups of milk. And we're going to start whisking this. But we're also going to add, some cheese powder. Now remember folks, I used marble cheese for this cheese powder, which means it's not going to be bright orange. There's 1.5, let's say 3 tablespoons of cheese powder. And we are just going to cook this. A little bit of pepper, excuse my arm. Dash of sea salt, and I mean just a dash. Because remember, your cheese is concentrated. So this is going to look, well heck, let's give it a little bit more cheese. So I've used about 1/8 of a cup of cheese maybe. We're just going to warm this up until it thickens. And here we go, we're thickening up just nice. We're going to turn this down, and then we're going to add our pre-cooked macaroni. And I probably could have done with less milk and more macaroni. Yeah, this is a little bit runnier. I should have used less milk. So let's say 1.5 cups of milk. Got a little bit more cheese on top. See, I'm expecting it to be the color of KD. But you know what? Like I said, this is marble cheese. And there's no color added either to the powder to make it look. Alright, let's try this. Oh, that's good. That's really good, folks. If you have the patience to dehydrate cheese, you might never buy boxed mac and cheese again. This is the Mrs. Volfie from our half-acre homestead saying, a job well done. Like my daddy used to say, anything worth doing is worth doing right. Take care. Bye-bye.